America Killmonger versus Kang the Conqueror. Let's go! What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am DL, back with another movie review, and we are back talking about the Rocky and Creed franchise. For those of you who are new, I've already talked about all 6 Rocky films and the first 2 Creed movies. If you guys haven't seen my reviews for those, I'll put a link in the description below so you guys can watch them. But let's conclude the Rocky and Creed franchise talking about Creed 3 that came out in 2023 this past weekend. Let's get into this. So the Creed films have been some of my favorite films in the Rocky franchise. I thought the first movie was great, and I really enjoyed the second one. I couldn't wait to see where they go from here. So this time around, they weren't going to have Ryan Coogler or Stephen Caple Jr. come back to direct, but instead, they were going to have Michael B. Jordan helm the project in his directorial debut. So very much like Sylvester Stallone in the Rocky films, Michael decides to step in and direct his own movies, which definitely had me intrigued. I'll admit, I was a bit worried when I first heard this, but I was interested to see how he handles being behind the camera, and he already knows these characters very well, so I'm sure he'll do a solid job. Also, you're still going to have Ryan Coogler help write and produce the film, so it's still in good hands. Also, hearing that Jonathan Majors was going to be the main villain of the film, it got me even more hyped. I'm becoming more of a fan of Majors. He's been putting in great performances as of late, so I definitely was interested in seeing how his dynamic will be with Michael B. Jordan in this movie. However, there has been a bit of controversy behind the scenes. I'm not aware of all the details, but from what I hear, apparently Sylvester Stallone has been fighting tooth and nail the past few years to own the rights to Rocky and Creed, but the studio refused to give it to him. And now he's upset that Michael B. Jordan is continuing the Creed films, so much so that he wasn't returning for the third one. Now there's probably some details in between that I'm missing, but I will say that's a pretty messy situation. I do feel a bit of empathy for Stallone because this is a character he did help create with Rocky. I don't know why MGM is giving him a hard time about that. But regardless, I didn't want that to deter my thoughts about seeing Michael B. Jordan continuing the Creed films. I definitely think he'll honor what came before with the Rocky films, and I'm invested in Creed's story so much that I think he can stand on his own without Rocky. But it will feel weird not having Rocky return because of the relationship he's had with Creed in the previous 2 movies. Anyway, all that aside, I was still really excited to see this film. And overall, man, I loved this movie. And I think this might be my favorite one in the trilogy. Out of all 3 films, I enjoyed watching this one the most. This had some of the best character moments of the trilogy, and possibly of the entire Rocky franchise. I feel like the drama and character moments were given more focus. I haven't seen it be this focused since the first couple of Rocky films. And since the first 2 Creed movies did a great job laying the foundation for these new characters, they felt the most fleshed out in this movie. Creed has now retired from boxing after defeating all his rivalries from the previous movies and becoming heavyweight champion of the world. And now he and Duke are helping train up-and-coming boxers at their gym. His wife Bianca has now become a successful music writer and producer, stepping down from becoming a full-time artist. And their daughter Amara, now played by Mila Davis Kent, is now 8 years old attending elementary school while her and her parents are making the best out of her being deaf. On top of that, Adonis and Bianca stepping in more to help his mother, Mary Ann, because she's been having some serious health conditions as of late. I'm not going to spoil what it is for people who haven't seen it yet. But anyway, I love seeing the family dynamic in this movie. Just seeing them through their everyday life is some of my favorite parts of the movie. Creed and Bianca continue to have great chemistry as husband and wife. Mary Ann is great as always. But Amara was such a highlight in this movie. She's so cute and charming. She's able to show so much personality without having to say a word. I think Mila Davis Kent is actually deaf in real life, so it's nice to see that she brought some authenticity to that. But it was great seeing that she has a great relationship with her parents, especially Adonis. You see that he has a lot of influence on her, as she has an interest in fighting too. But her being so young, Bianca is worried about her getting into fights at school, but Adonis wants her to learn to defend herself from bullies. So it's interesting to see how they deal with that conflict. Alright, let's talk about Jonathan Majors as Diamond Dame Anderson. In my opinion, He's the best antagonist of all the Rocky and Creed films. He was awesome. What makes him the best, in my opinion, is that he balances being the over the top, charismatic villain and being a sympathetic antagonist with a backstory. There were moments where I really felt bad for him, and then there were moments where I flat out hated him. I don't think any Rocky villain was able to convey so much range as Dame did. And I was a bit concerned about how they were able to incorporate Dame into Creed's past without any mention of him in the previous films. But they somehow did it. They somehow pulled it off. They did explain why he wasn't mentioned before, and they instantly had me buy into Creed and Dame being childhood best friends. The dynamic between Creed and Dame was electric. Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors worked off each other so well, and with their dynamic, it made it the most personal rivalry in the franchise. They were able to challenge each other mentally and physically. What I also will say is Michael B. Jordan is in incredible shape as always, but Jonathan Majors also looks like a beast. He definitely looked imposing and brought some physicality to the role. And yes, I'll let you know for people that are wondering. Jonathan Majors did do a better performance here as Dame than he did as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Yeah, I said it. Now, regarding Michael B. Jordan's direction, his felt the most unique compared to Ryan Coogler and Stephen Caple Jr. He said that he was really inspired by anime when approaching this movie, and I definitely saw some influences here and there, especially regarding the fight sequences. This is some of my favorite boxing sequences of the entire franchise. I love how he incorporated close ups and slow motion in the fights. Also, you see how the fighter is analyzing weak points on the opponents to figure out his next moves to attack. And you also see certain moments where someone gets hit in slow motion and there's an exaggerated impact from the hits. And in the final fight, you kind of see a dream sequence type of staging being incorporated to the fight where they're in a void duking it out, very much like an anime. I saw inspiration from things like Dragon Ball Z or Megalobox. For people who aren't into anime, I can see how some people may look at this as too stylistic or over the top, but for me, I thought it was exciting. It helped to keep the fight scenes fresh, and I did respect Michael B. Jordan for trying to do something different stylistically. We're like 9 movies in, you gotta try something different with the fight scenes at this point. Also, the training montage in this movie was once again awesome. The build up between Creed and Dame was already great, so seeing them both training for the final fight was all hype. And I didn't expect Victor Drago to return and help Creed train. It's not a spoiler, it's been shown in the trailers already. But I'm glad they were able to incorporate him back into the movie. Now, I did have some gripes here and there as far as Michael B. Jordan's direction. I've already said before that, the anime influences I personally enjoyed, but I can see how it won't really work for everyone that may see it as over the top or too stylistic. So that was probably one little gripe that I have. It's more like a nitpick anyway. Also, as far as Rocky's presence in the movie, did I feel him missing in this movie? Yeah, in a couple of moments. Because as I said before, Creed and Rocky's relationship was so strong in the first 2 movies. And regarding the whole, rivalry between Dame and Creed, I would feel like there will be moments where Rocky will be there, and there are also moments outside of the rivalry with Creed and Dame where I do feel Rocky would have been there. I'm not going to spoil those specific moments, but like there were definitely there are definitely a couple of scenes where I did feel Rocky's absence, because there were definitely some personal like situations that Creed's been going through that I think Rocky would have been able to talk him through. But it didn't like Rocky's presence didn't loom throughout the entire movie. It still did a good job, focusing on Adonis. This is Adonis's story. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that Rocky was in the film because for the first time, this actually felt like Creed's franchise. This actually felt like his movies. It didn't feel like a spin-off from the Rocky movies, which is something I really, really appreciated. Also, regarding the runtime, this is the shortest out of the 3 Creed movies, where the first 2 was around 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 12 minutes. This is an hour and 56 minutes. And I felt like they could have added 10 more minutes to help, flesh things out a bit more. I do still think that the development with the characters and the dynamics were still really, really strong, but it did feel like things were going by a bit quicker than usual, Like we could have gotten a few more scenes seeing, the backstory with Dame and Creed with them as kids. Like we do see that in the movie, but like it felt like we could have spent time with those scenes longer. And also we could have, had some more scenes with Dame as an adult, just seeing him go through his dynamics and struggles. Like I could have had a little bit more scenes there. And or they could have used the time to, to build more to the final fight between Dame and Creed. Like I said, I do feel satisfied with what we got. So this is not a huge gripe with the film, but like if there was 10 more minutes of the movie, I think it would have been more fleshed out. The build would have felt more epic, but that's just a nitpick in my part. But yeah, those are all my main issues with the movie in general, which, they're not like huge issues. They're just some nitpicks, some gripes here and there. But overall, I loved this movie. I thought it was absolutely great. This may end up being one of my favorites in the Rocky and Creed franchise in general. And this is the first movie where I feel like Adonis Creed truly stands on its own, not hanging on to the legacy of the previous Rocky films. So I definitely can see the Creed movies continuing on after this, have it be its own thing, being finally separated from the Rocky films. But at the same time, I do feel content if this was the last Creed movie we've gotten, because I do feel like it was a satisfactory ending. So if this ended up being the last movie of the Creed films, I would be pretty happy. But, I've said that before with the Rocky films where I felt like 3 was a satisfactory ending, and then 4 was a satisfactory ending, and then 5, I mean, it wasn't all the way satisfactory, but, it did conclude the franchise in general. So they could keep making more if the story is there and if the characters are still very well done. But they were planting some seeds to possibly making more films. I think Michael B. Jordan said before that he is interested in doing more Creed films in the future. So we possibly will see a Creed 4. And as I said before, with Creed's daughter, Amara, with her being interested in fighting, I wouldn't be shocked if, they possibly develop a future film or show or something like that where we possibly see her grown up being interested in becoming a boxer herself. You never know. I'm actually kind of intrigued if we develop her to eventually become a boxer herself. That would be kind of cool. But anyway, I'm thinking too far into the future. Overall, Michael B. Jordan was great as Creed as always. Tessa Thompson as Bianca. Marianne was great. I thought Jonathan Majors as Dame was awesome. Probably my favorite villain in the Rocky and Creed franchise. I thought the fight scenes were awesome. I love the anime influences in here. But yeah, all in general, I just thought it was a great film. And I'm definitely excited to see what Michael B. Jordan will direct next. If they ever try to do a live action Dragon Ball movie, I think you need to call Michael B. Jordan, just seeing the anime influences we've gotten in this one. But yeah, overall, I will give Creed 3 an A minus. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Creed 3. What did you guys think about it if you guys have seen it already? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? How does it compare to the previous 2 Creed movies? And how does it compare to the rest of the Rocky franchise? Comment your thoughts down below and let me know. So we have concluded talking about all the Rocky and Creed films. If you guys enjoyed all my reviews, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And please hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers. It'll be great if we can meet that goal. But that's all I have for you Rocky and Creed fans, and I will see you guys next time. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.